If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
The institution of slavery is not inherently evil. I know. Some of you guys are upset by that. Some of you guys are saying, I've been saying that for years. Okay, I'll take it a step further. It is not inherently evil to own another human being. I know. Just wait. Some of you guys are really upset, but let's talk through this because it is very important that every Christian affirm what I just said. And not only should they affirm it, every Christian in today's society should be able to defend what I just said.
Hi everyone, my name is Miss Yuba and you're welcome back to my channel. You know, I watched that video that white pastor was saying we should be thankful for slavery, and I felt something deep inside me, because how dare anyone, especially someone who claims to speak for God, tell black people to be grateful for one of the darkest crimes in human history? That's not preaching. That is gaslighting. That is disrespecting every ancestor who was chained, beaten, sold, and silenced. Our people didn't come in here by choice. We were dragged here in chain. We built nations with our blood and sweat, while our families were ripped apart. To turn around and say we should be grateful for that, that's not faith. That is whitewashing history. That's trying to make peace with oppressions instead of standing against it. If this pastor truly read the Bible he preaches from, he would know that God doesn't bless injustice, God doesn't reward cruelty, and God surely doesn't ask the oppressed to thank their oppressors. We can thank God for surviving slavery. We can thank God for the strength of our ancestors, for the resilience that still runs through us. But don't twist it. We are not thanking God for slavery itself. We are thanking God for the fact that we overcome it. So guys, watch these reaction videos. We will come back to talk about it. If you are new to this my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And also, remember to drop your thoughts in the comment section.
Let me tell you about what black people suffered through after those white men's ships arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of black prisoners were leased by southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where blacks, again, worked for free while white men made themselves rich again from their labor and upon their broken backs. There were also sharecropping, which grossly exploited black work ethic while allowing the former enslavers to maintain their power and to continue to grow their wealth, their white wealth. Again, ultimately passing that on to future generations of their white descendants. Of course, during this time, there were also Jim Crow laws in place all over the South, which made it illegal for black Americans to occupy the same spaces as whites. Hospitals and bathrooms, private buildings, elevators, phone booths, restaurants, water fountains, everything that was white, which was everything, was off limits for black Americans. Black Americans. Jim Crow laws also intended to force black people into indentured servitude, to limit their voice in the political system by stripping away their constitutional rights to vote. and to control where they live. It was the American legal system explicitly designed for oppressing them. You know this though, Joel, right? So tell me, Joel Webbin, your goofy little sidekick maybe, or anybody else for that matter, black people should be thankful? Thankful? America wasn't a different nation back then. In so many ways, we are the same country, making the same mistakes, abusing the same peoples, reinforcing those same old traumas.
Recently, the President of the United States criticized Smithsonian museums, saying they focus too much on slavery, oppression, and America's flaws. A couple of thoughts on this one. First, it's important that we be very clear. This isn't about what he calls, quote, restoring truth, unquote. This is whitewashing history. This is sanitizing the brutal parts to protect some national image. Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung called this the shadow. He said, shadows are the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or even sometimes are unaware of. One of the great American shadows includes slavery, segregation, white supremacy, and systemic racism. And we're fooling ourselves if we believe we can just sweep this history under the rug. My experience has been that just because it's out of sight doesn't mean it's out of body. Repressing wounds can masquerade as healing wounds. Repressing wounds only really relocates wounds. It does not actually heal them. Healing comes from telling the truth. So we must face our shadows to become whole. That means owning our past, slavery, indigenous displacement, racial injustice, and yes, the way American Christianity was used to justify all of it. And it isn't just in the past. It's present. It's here. It's in our laws. It's in our churches. It's in our everyday language. It's why we call it systemic. Much of it these days is coded, sanitized, disguised, and excused. But hear me, rebranded racism is still racism. And if you don't see it, maybe it's because it's been so normalized in your culture. And what feels, quote, ordinary, unquote, may just be unrecognized prejudice. I know this is true because it's not just out there, it's in here. I've been shaped and conditioned in this culture. Warnings like, quote, be careful in that neighborhood, unquote, or, quote, that school's gone downhill, unquote, or, quote, they look like trouble, unquote. Don't mishear me. I'm not ashamed of being white. I'm made in the image of God like everyone. And this isn't a war on straight white men. But if it feels that way, maybe ask yourself, is this really suppression or is it just equality rising? As someone said, equality can feel like oppression when you're used to privilege. Friends, we cannot heal what we won't name, and what remains unnamed remains unhealed.
I can't believe I have to say this. A Christian pastor recently suggested to me that I should be grateful that my ancestors were enslaved because I now have the gospel. And stick around because the history won't disappoint. First of all, his gospel clearly isn't my gospel. My gospel is good news for the oppressed, not a good excuse for oppression. Second, and this is very important, Christianity already existed in West Africa well before white enslavers stole my ancestors. In fact, historians found a letter written in the year 1619. Yes, that 1619. In the letter, a Catholic bishop was outraged that more than 4,000 African Christians had been captured by slave traders in modern-day Angola. This was in 1619, which means it is not just probable but likely that there were Christians among the very first Africans sold to this land. So no, we didn't need your bastardized version of Christianity then, and we surely don't need it now.
Because it was the white man, when they arrived here in the Americas, that slaughtered over 13 million natives. It was the white man that raped their women and daughters. It was the white man that destroyed their culture. It was the white man that took their language. It was the white man that devastated the beauty of what was here prior. And standing on the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes, and when we opened them, We had the Bible, and the white man had the land. See, it was the white man that went over to Africa and slaughtered millions, enslaved millions, destroyed their culture, their language, and the beauty that was there prior to us. Because see, I recall it was the white man who enslaved our black brothers and sisters once they took them from Africa here to the Americas. And for over 400 years, it's been the white man that has continued to enslave our black brothers and sisters. In fact, when they were prospering like Black Wall Street, it was the invasion of the white man that destroyed that city. It was the invasion of the white man onto the island of Puerto Rico that devastated the people that lived there. It was the white man that stepped foot into the islands and the nations of Haiti that once again devastated and left it to die. Because the reality is this: everywhere the white man has invaded, everywhere the white man has placed his foot, he has left it destroyed.
We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose, and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree: kill them. So until we admit that when we wrote this Constitution that all men are created equal, that we never intended to include our black brothers and sisters, our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go. We are the ones that are refusing to acknowledge that we do not value our black brothers and sisters as equal individuals or equal Americans as us white men. And to my black brothers and sisters, the racial issues, as I've said, have been there from the very foundation. But why do we see it more? Because there's a shifting. See, us white men have been at the head since the foundation. But we've had a black president. And you know, we've done everything in our power to keep him from really changing things. Now we have another minority rising to the top, a white female. What does that say? Those of us who are white men who have been at the head are now starting to see and fear that we are going to become the tail. And we know what we've done to you. And so now we're fearful that you're going to do to us what we have done to you. But I will say this: I've lived in a black community for 23 years. I've never been treated the way that this country has treated my black Americans. So I call out my white Americans to say we better heed, repent, acknowledge, and change. Because if we don't, I just want to again say this: the bloodshed that
I saw a video of a pastor advertising for slavery, talking about how slavery is not this sinful thing and it's not as bad as people think it is. And all I ever think to myself is, when people think of slavery, they never think of Caucasian people. Like, you can enslave your own folks. You don't need brown, black, tan people to be slaves. Like, why do we have to be slaves? Why does that never ever come to your mind? Like, you know what? We could just, they did it in Rome. They did it in the old times. Matter of fact, for a long time, I thought the Moors were white folks. In my history class, that's what they let us know. But you were just, or indentured servants, whatever it is. Just, if you want people to go and pick vegetables and all that, they don't have to be Mexican. They don't have to be black. They can be white folks. Like, why can't white people be? Am I the only person that thought of this? Like, I don't really understand why there can't be Caucasian slaves. Like, there's more white people here than us. So if you control the population, just enslave your own. Like, why do we gotta volunteer? Why do they gotta be black jobs? Right? You could just make them white jobs. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that slavery's okay. I'm not saying bring it back. But if you're thinking about bringing it back, you don't have to employ the same people. Right? You don't have to.
Look, I don't know need to hear this, all black people, but this is some serious trigger warning shit. I'm going to let y'all know. I'm very upset. This is going to piss you the fuck off. So I'm just going to play it, and then I'm going to react afterwards. But just know this is very trigger warning. If you're black and Hispanic, I need you to fucking pay attention because this is what these devils think, all right? I'm going to play the clip.
Because here's the deal. It's like, what was slavery? The richest black people on God's green earth are African Americans. If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore. Because he brings the gospel of Jesus Christ. He catechizes you and your children. He brings exports. He brings hospitals, medicine, life expansion increases. GDP and resources increase. Medicine increases. And most importantly, you get taught the gospel of Jesus Christ so that you can live longer on earth and then go to heaven.
Saying black Americans.
I mean, wow, man, that was so much to deal with. So much to unpack from what this devil just said. Let's start from when they first got here. Read above, Christopher Columbus, 1492. As soon as they came off them slave ships, it was immediate violence, immediate killing, immediate giving sickness to the Native Americans that were here. That's what happened when y'all first got off those slave ships. Doesn't sound too holy and mythical to me. Let's also talk about when y'all first got here and first landed those god-awful ships, which the Native Americans should have shot fucking arrows at y'all when y'all got here. Y'all had scurvy. A really bad sickness, and y'all passed it on to the Native Americans. So when y'all first got here, y'all were so dirty and filthy, you had scurvy. You also brought the pig here and the German cockroach. So, okay, it's not sounding good so far when y'all first got here. Let's talk about more good stuff y'all used to do. You ever heard the term gator bait? These motherfuckers used to take our children, our babies, and catch alligators, feed them to alligators, and get the leather from our babies. These are from these evil people who are telling us that we're not civilized and all this stuff. There's more. These motherfuckers used to also have us at the county fair. Look at the sign. Hit the N-word baby. I ain't got to say it out loud. These fools used to play a game with us, y'all. But these are the people boy, I need y'all to spread the word. I need y'all to get this out there. This is ridiculous. We're not about to sit there and let these people talk. I can't even get my words out. I'm so upset. Make sure you spread the word. Share this to everybody you know, because these devils aren't going to sit here and act like they're saints when they're the most evil people on the planet Earth. I just talked about a few things. Spread the word.
We understand the curse that was slavery, white people do, and we say that was bad, but we miss the blessing of slavery.
The blessing of what? And plot twist, that was my pastor.
I also had a pastor who would pray for women's bodies to be restored so that they would bleed for their future husbands.
I have hundreds of emails about girls' hymens being restored.
So I guess past Jubilee just really knew how to pick them. My ex-husband and I went to this church, you know, the one that thought that he was never going to die and that he was going to own the entire company of Disney before he almost ended up unaliving me. That one. We went to this church out in Atlanta, and it is a huge mega church, and I don't remember him saying anything this crazy. In fact, I remember the church being really boring and lacking hardly any substance, but wow. You might think I am taking this out of context, although how could we say blessings of slavery in a good context? But let's watch the rest of that clip.
It actually built up the framework for the world that white people live in.
Yes.
And
Yeah, that didn't make it any better.
This is what people need to understand. Gratitude doesn't mean forgetting. Faith doesn't mean silence. We honor our history by telling the truth, not by rewriting it to make others comfortable. So no, I will never thank God for slavery. I thank God for freedom, the kind our ancestors dreamed of, fought for, and passed down to us. I thank God for that. No pastor, no sermon, and no twisted messages will ever erase that truth.